looked at Gideon, where he had been sitting staring at his son for the last few hours. After we got back to the keep earlier, he had moved Monroe here to his room. Gideon had not moved from the chair next to his bed, and he had not spoken a word. I wondered what he was thinking, but I didn't even know how to broach the conversation. I've got to admit, I'm still a little shaken by what I had saw in the village tonight. So I left him to his thoughts, and laying my hand on Monroe's wound, I went back into prayer with the Father. Sometimes before sunrise, Monroe awakened. "Dad, her hands are hot," he croaked. I sat up from where I had been laying my head on the bed next to him. Gideon came awake from where he had dozed in the chair. "Monroe," he said, reaching for his son's hand. Monroe cracked his eyes and startled both of us. His pupils were completely white. I put my hand on my chest. "The plants, they light up for you because they touched them." He pointed to something behind my back. I turned to see who they were, but there was nobody there. I looked at Gideon, and I had to blink to make sure I was seeing correctly. Yes, I was. Even though they didn't drop, he had tears in his eyes. Monroe's hand fell back to the bed, and his eyes closed. Seconds later, he was asleep again. Gideon still hadn't looked up at me. Neither did he look at they behind me. "Gideon," I asked. "I'm a bad father, Safiya." He looked up at me then, with tortured eyes that pulled at my heart. I stood coming around the bed to him. He sat back in his chair and I slid in his lap, wrapping my arms around his neck, hugging him close. He wrapped his arms around me, squeezing me as he buried his head in my neck. I stroked his braids. "Don't say that, Gideon. I'm sure you did the best you could." He shook his head. "But I didn't." I looked down at him. He leaned his head back to rest on the chair, staring at the ceiling. "I didn't. I could have done better. I didn't even want him. When his grandmother called me from New York, telling me his mother had run off and left him with her, I started sending her money every week because I had too much going on in my own life to be burdened with a kid." "What happened then? How did he end up here?" "He scared the hell out of his grandmother. That's how. When he was a baby, he used to cry like all the time, but it was a terrifying cry. Not like he was in pain or anything, like he was afraid of something. He would look up and off. Sometimes he would be at peace, but then sometimes he would see something that would make him just go off into yelling." He shook his head, frowning, the tears still in his eyes. "One day his grandmother calls me and tells me that I need to come quick because something was wrong with him and she couldn't help him anymore. When I get there, I could hear him crying, screaming. As soon as I got out of the car, his grandmother opens the door for me, telling me he's not human. She got crosses and holy water and all kind of crap. I go in there and he's balled up in the corner, and his hair is completely white. I couldn't do nothing but just stare down at him in horror." "Wait, he wasn't born like that?" Gideon shook his head. "Nah, that's just something he tells people." "How old was he when this happened?" 5. He rubbed his head as if trying to release some pressure. I lifted my hands and I began to massage his temples. "Go on," I told him, fascinated by what he was telling me. He's huddled in a corner. I say, "Son, what's going on with you?" He tells me he's seeing things. "What kind of things?" I asked. He looked at me as if he wasn't sure he wanted to tell me. He told me he saw angels and demons. I turned to look back at Monroe. His eyes moved restlessly under his eyelids as if he was stuck in a nightmare. What happened then? His grandmother comes in, crying and yelling, saying, "See, I told you he was a demon. Get him out of my house. Get him out." I just leaned down and I picked him up. I walked out. After that day, we never talked about it again. Although there were some times where I could tell something was hunting him, and I could tell he wants to talk about it. But maybe he's remembering how his grandmother responded to him, and he doesn't say anything. He just suffers in silence. And the tears were in his eyes. They began to fall. And I let him suffer. I let him go through it all alone. I held him close, stroking his head. "Shh, Gideon. Shh. It's not too late to help him. There are some things that only Yah can help him with. You have to teach him to seek rest in Messiah, because only He can give him shalom. Only He can give you both shalom." And having called his 12 taught ones near, I spoke softly to him. He gave them authority over unclean spirits, to cast them out, and to heal every disease and every bodily weakness. And these are the name of the 12 emissaries. First, Shalom, who is called Kepha, and Andrew, his brother, Yaakov, the son of Zabdah, and Yahanan, his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Tumo and Mattiah, the tax collector, Yaakov, the son of Alpha, and Labah, whose last name is Tadiah, Shimon the Canaanite, and Yehuda of Korah, who did also deliver him up. Yehoshua sent these 12 out, having commanded them, saying, "Do not go into the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter a city of the Shemarites, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, proclaim, saying, the reign of the heavens has drawn near. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. You have received without paying, give without being paid." Mattiah 10, 1-8. "I love hearing you recite scriptures," he told me. I smiled down at him. I know. I held him close for a few more hours, comforting him, as I thought about Monroe. I knew there was something more to him. He lugged around a heavy burden, one that he carried all by himself. I don't know what Yah's will is for him, but to be able to see angels and demons must have been, and still continues to be, terrifying. I remember reading once about Abraham, and how he spoke to an angel and begged him to show him his true appearance. When the angel did, Abraham had been horrified. Goodness, that is quite a burden for a child to carry alone. The next 2 days and nights pretty much went the same way. Gideon and I stayed by Monroe's bed, only leaving to shower and grab a quick bite to eat. So far, Monroe was doing good. Although he had gotten a fever the second night, he hadn't gotten an infection, which was a blessing. On the third day, I even got him to eat a little broth. I was glad to see when he opened his eyes again, they were back to normal, and not the white orbs that had stared at me the first night. Monroe had told me that his dad didn't love because he didn't know how. But watching Gideon over the last few days, there was no doubt in my mind he loved his son greatly. He had burned down half the village searching for the man that had tried to kill him. And the few times he had left his son's side, I had to beg and plead with him to do so. However, he never stayed gone for long. Yes, Gideon loved his son. I sat at the foot of Monroe's bed, stretching my back. "Hey, "Come here," Gideon said, coming to stand in front of me. He wrapped his arms around me, lifting me to my feet, so that I stood in front of him, holding me close. He looked into my eyes for a minute before he spoke. "I am so glad you are here. I would have never been able to make it through this without you," he said before he leaned down and gently kissed my lips. I circled his neck with my arms, looking up at him. "I'm glad I can be here for you." "You look tired," he told me. "Won't you go upstairs and relax a little? Take a shower." I looked back at Monroe before nodding. "Okay, but I'll be back in a little while." He nodded. I stood on my toes and I kissed his lips before I left. A few minutes later, I was standing under that hot water, letting it relax muscles that had tensed from sitting in one spot so long. I squeaked in fear when two arms circled my waist. Turning around, I frowned at Gideon. "You scared the heck out of me," I said, hitting his naked chest. "What the world?" He chuckled at me, at my look of bewilderment, before he leaned down, kissing my neck just underneath my ear. "I didn't mean to scare you." His kisses were distracting me. Focusing in, I asked, "Who's with Monroe?" "Teresa." "Oh, okay, Iman. She would watch over him. That was good." I looked up at him. "And what are you doing in my shower?" He kissed my neck again, causing me to squirm. "I need you," he whispered to me. I nodded because I needed him too. "In the shower?" I asked, confused. He chuckled, undoing me with his drugging kisses. "Mm-hmm," was all he said. I was dumbfounded. Could he make love to me in the shower? Was that possible? I couldn't help it. I asked, "Gideon, how?" He chuckled again, then proceeded to show me how. Thoroughly. When we was done, he got dressed and went back down to sit with Monroe, after making me promise to take a nap in the bed. So, after I got dressed, I went to the bed and I lay down for just a minute. It had been a while since I stretched out. But no sooner had I laid down, Dawid came leaping over the rail on the balcony. Quietly, he entered through the doors. As he walked towards me, I sat up in the bed because I could tell by the look on his face that my world was getting ready to change. He almost looked sad. "Doda," he said quietly. "It's time." Dread raced down my spine. I frowned, confused and scared all at the same time. "It's time to go home," he said. "Home?" I asked. How had I come to this? I knew that this day would come, but I never imagined I would feel this torn. Dawid nodded his head. "Yeah, home." "To Chicago?" Tears came to my eyes. "Dawid, what should I do? I love him." "I know, but you can't stay with him. Shlomo and a few of the other ox are here." I jumped up out of the bed. "Oh no! Oh no! Lion?" I asked, about to have a nervous breakdown. "Lion and Gideon will kill each other. Period." Dawid shook his head. "My dad isn't here. Shlomo went behind his back to come for us. He's trying to avoid a war, but we have to go now. If we don't leave today, my dad will be here tomorrow." That got me moving, because I would rather live without Gideon than watch him die at the hands of Lion, or watch him kill Lion. No, that couldn't happen. Tears came to my eyes as I returned to the closet, looking around for anything to pack. I lifted my arms, looking at the golden cuffs around my wrists. I ran my finger over Gideon's name. These would do just fine. These bands that I once looked at as shackles, I will now cherish as the symbol of my marriage to a man that I could not have. I came back out of the closet. "I'm ready," I told Dawid. "Are you going to be okay?" he asked. I nodded, although tears felt like lava running down my face. He nodded. Okay, follow me. He led me out the house and through the trees. Suddenly, he stopped, looking back towards the armory. He knows we're gone. He's coming fast. We have to run. He took my hand and we began to run. Sophia! Gideon yelled pierced the night, causing the forest to come alive in startlement. He was coming very fast, and he wasn't alone. I pumped my arms and legs. The faster I ran, the more torn I felt. Everything within me screamed out against running from him. Sophia! He yelled much closer. I turned to look back and cried out. He was there, so close, and he was angry. He moved like the wolf next to him, leaping over fallen trees without slowing his pace. He was so close, he was going to catch us. Get down, Dawid yelled, throwing himself at me. As soon as we hit the ground, a gunshot rang out. Gideon, who was just feet away from us, flew back as a red spot spread across his chest. I thought that maybe I had been shot because the pain was so sharp that shot through me. But it wasn't me. Time slowed as Gideon hit the ground. He jumped back to his feet, but his legs wouldn't move. He looked down and shot at his chest before he looked back up at me. The pain he felt at my betrayal there in his gaze. And then his eyes rolled to the back of his head and his big body fell down. Only this time it didn't get back up. No! I yelled, getting to my feet. But before I could take 2 steps, a strong arm wrapped around me, lifted me off my feet. Gideon! I cried, reaching for him. I could hear the wolf whining as he sniffed around his fallen master. Put me down! I tried to buck out of whoever arms was carrying me. This could not be Dawid. I clawed at the arms, but no matter what I did, I was getting farther and farther away from Gideon, who was dying on the ground. Please, he needs me. Sophia, Shlomo said. It was Solomon. It was Solomon who was carrying me. Please, you gotta put me down. He needs me. Colty, we gotta get out of here. Now. As he ran, carrying me, I looked up and I saw Gideon up high in the tree, his sniper rifle aimed and firing. Gideon had just shot Gideon in the chest. He might as well have shot me as well, cause I felt myself slipping to a dark place. Maybe I was having a nervous breakdown. I watched with lifeless eyes as Solomon ran with me through the gate into a waiting black truck. It was then I realized there was a full-blown gun battle going on. Daniel was providing cover for us. Quickly, Dawid got in the truck after me. Mouse was at the wheel. Shlomo ran to the passenger side and got in. Bullets were hitting the truck, but they seemed to just bounce off. You okay? Mouse asked, turning to look back at us. I shook my head, but I couldn't speak because I was sobbing so hard. Daniel had shot Gideon. Oh, my heart. I looked out the window and I watched as Daniel ran out the gate. A few seconds later, Dino walked out, and my eyes widened in horror as a huge fireball exploded behind him. Oh no, I could not breathe. Oh no. Dino got in the truck and Mouse sped off. I turned to look at the destruction behind me, in more pain than I had ever been in my whole life.